Thursday is the one day of the year that is specially dedicated to celebrating all of the wonderful things our moms had done for us over the years. And it's our annual reminder to express our love and appreciation by saying thank you. Give her either the Jimmy Choo for women, or Dolce by Dolce & Gabbana, or even Beige Volet, or Le Panther from Cartier, and Kenzo Flower Tag for ladies. Only at Ashbury's for great service. Ashbury's is located at Liverpool Road, Bastille, and also at the Marriott in Frigate Bay. Call 465-8175 or 466-1626. Ashbury's.
In an oral judgment delivered just after 10 o'clock Eastern Caribbean time, the Privy Council ruled that orders made by the Appeal Court and High Court be set aside, and that the interim injunction granted on the 16th day of January 2015 by High Court Judge Marlene Carter be restored.
After consideration of the appellant's appeal against the order made by the Eastern Caribbean Court of Appeal, sitting as the Court of Appeal for St Christopher and Nevis on the 5th of February 2015, and having heard submissions on behalf of the parties yesterday on the 11th of February 2015, first, the Board will humbly advise Her Majesty that the appeal should be allowed, that the orders made by Madam Justice Carter on the 27th January 2015 and by the Court of Appeal on the 5th of February 2015 be set aside, and that the interim injunction granted by Madam Justice Carter on the 16th January 2015 be restored. Second, the parties having in their agreement and undertaking recorded in the order made by the Court of Appeal by consent on 5th February 2015 agreed to use for the purposes of the forthcoming election due to take place on Monday the 16th February 2015, whatever list the Privy Council may determine as the appropriate list. It is determined and ordered that, firstly, the list to be used in the said election is and shall be that existing prior to and apart from the proclamation bearing the reference number 2 of 2015, purportedly issued and published by the Governor-General in Extraordinary Gazette number 3 bearing the date 16th January 2015. Second, any effect which the said proclamation would continue otherwise to have, whether in relation to any other election or otherwise, is hereby suspended until further order. All further questions regarding the said proclamation or otherwise, and all questions of costs, be reserved. The Board will put its advice to Her Majesty and its reasons for this order in writing in a judgment which will be handed down in the usual way in due course. The Board is grateful to Council and those assisting them for the way in which this appeal has been prepared and argued.
After declaring the election for the Unity Coalition on February the 17th, the Supervisor of Elections, Winn George, speaking on state media, committed to providing the final counts by day's end.
I can, at some point in time, a little later, give the updated total, but because I must say that some of my returning officers have been working for more than 2 days. They have not slept for like 2 nights. And so we were just working during today to get the final results, just to make sure who is a clear winner. But the final tally will be, it would have to be tallied after some of the returning officers get some rest.
Sunday, Mr. George had made no further public comments nor released the final counts when FM's attempts to reach him have been unsuccessful. In the early hours of the morning on February the 17th, with results trickling in and only 2 candidates declared, Mr. George stopped the count, and state media ZIZ announced that there would be no further results provided until further notice. Within minutes, a caller to Winn FM alerted the public that the count had been completed in at least 2 other constituencies, and the seats had gone to the Unity Coalition. Candidates, agents, and counters corroborated the report that Ian Liburd and Lindsey Grant of the People's Action Movement, Team Unity, had won 2 key seats.
3 o'clock this morning, we finished counting the last box of Ian Patches Liburd and Earl Aston Martin, and the official count at the end, which we agreed upon with the returning officer, which is Mr. Bell, was that Earl Aston Martin gets 17 27, and Ian Patis got 1731.
Chair of the OECS, Dominica's Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerritt, was the first of many regional heads to call for the formal announcement of the results.
We are in touch with all interested parties in the Federation, and we shall use our good offices to ensure that this matter is brought to a satisfactory, transparent, and acceptable conclusion.
WINN is 98.9. 98.9 is Winn FM.
Winn FM's mission is to contribute meaningfully to the information, awareness, and the development of our nation and the region through the building of educated and informed communities. Winn FM faces the issues squarely, without shying away from controversy, while striving continuously to provide balanced, responsible reporting.
Better music, better talk, better radio. 98.9 Winn FM.
Judge on the night of the February 16 general election stopped announcing the results of the poll without any explanation. There is also a concern that more than a week after general elections, the final ballot count has still not been announced by the Supervisor of Elections. Queen's Counsel Wilkin, the president of the St. Kitts and Nevis Bar Association, made his comments about the supervisor in his latest commentary, in which he made a fresh call for an end to political tribalism in the Federation. According to QC Wilkin, the February 16 general election made it clear that political tribalism is alive and well in St. Kitts and Nevis, and he wants the matter given priority attention.
Political tribalism is still as bad as it ever was in St. Kitts and Nevis, as evidenced by the vicious nature of the election campaign and by the ruthless machinations of the electoral process. The atrocious and disgusting behavior of the Supervisor of Elections, who should never hold any public office again, and of those who conspired with him or allowed him to frustrate the announcement of results and the swearing in of the new government, is further evidence of the potentially destructive effect of the tribalism. The tribalism has continued in the behavior of some diehards on both sides since the election. We must put an end to that blight and to the win-at-all-costs mentality.
Attorney Wilkin is hoping that the tribalism he refers to will be replaced by issues-based politics. He also has some advice for the new administration led by Prime Minister Timothy Harris and makes a strong case for constitutional review.
While our system gives the winner all the spoils, the winner must remember that the country belongs to all, not just its supporters. It ignores that fact at its peril. There is a glaring need for laws to govern the transition from one government to another, since some of those who control the process have no regard for conventional conduct.
Dr. Timothy Harris made the observation while addressing the annual general meeting of the Chamber of Industry and Commerce Wednesday.
So you have permanent secretaries who became campaign managers and politicians. And we don't have time for transition in St. Kitts and Nevis and in the Caribbean. We don't have the luxury of the American presidential system with its checks and balances. So after an election, the president rests and get ready for somewhere in January. Our system demands that by the very next day, a new government be put in place to ensure stability and peace. And yet, when the civil service, that has to be the fulcrum of government action, become and is allowed to become so politically partisan, it creates a problem. Creates a problem for them, who then imbibe the fear that what they had done in the campaign was wrong, and now they have to reconcile that the people have spoken otherwise. It brings to uncertainty in the relationship, because after all, the new ministers are human. Some of them had double trouble dealing with so-called civil servants in the political marketplace. We have said that we want to reverse that. We want to go back to the good old days when civil servants understand that there was a need for restraint in terms of political participation so that they could serve, as is the reasonable expectation, any administration that the people want to have.
Prime Minister Harris also reiterated calls for political appointees to tender their resignations.